key turned in the lock, the door swung open, and Marcus Whitfield froze on the threshold of the lake house he had just won fair and square, because standing in the middle of the living room, calmly folding a sweater into an open suitcase on the couch, was a woman he had never seen in his life. If you believe in kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, drop a comment, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel, because what happened next changed 2 lives in ways neither of them expected. Marcus was 44 years old, a quiet accountant from Charleston, South Carolina, who had spent the last 3 years grieving his wife Rachel in the only way he knew how, by working late, skipping vacations, and telling himself he was too busy to feel anything. The charity auction had been his sister's idea. She'd bid on his behalf without asking, and when the winning bid for a weekend at a private lake house in the Blue Ridge Mountains came back in his name, she'd handed him the certificate like a prescription he was required to fill. He hadn't wanted to go. He went anyway, mostly to prove to her that he could relax, even if he had no intention of actually doing it. The woman in the living room turned around slowly, startled, a folded cardigan still clutched to her chest. Her name was Caroline Bennett, and she explained, voice trembling, that the property management company had told her the house was hers for the weekend, a gift from her late father's old business partner, arranged months ago as an anniversary present for a marriage that had ended in divorce 3 weeks earlier, a fact she hadn't yet told anyone in her family. There had been a scheduling mix-up. 2 names, 1 reservation, 1 weekend. Neither of them had anywhere else booked, and it was already dark outside, with a storm rolling in over the ridge. What should have been an argument turned into something else entirely. Caroline offered to call a cab into town, but the roads were already slick, and Marcus, surprising himself, told her to stay. There were 2 bedrooms, it was 1 weekend. He wasn't in the business of putting a stranger out into a storm. That first night, they sat on opposite ends of the porch in silence, each nursing a private grief neither one named aloud. But grief has a way of recognizing itself in another person, and by the second morning, over coffee neither of them had planned to share, the silence began to crack open into conversation. Caroline talked about the wedding dress still hanging in her closet that she couldn't bring herself to donate. Marcus talked about Rachel's handwriting, still taped to the refrigerator on a grocery list he refused to throw away. They laughed at things that weren't especially funny, the particular laughter of 2 people relieved to feel something other than numb. On the second afternoon, hiking a trail behind the house, Caroline turned an ankle on loose gravel, and Marcus half-carried her the last quarter-mile back, both of them soaked from a sudden downpour, both of them laughing so hard at the absurdity of it all that the pain seemed to matter less. That evening, wrapped in blankets by the fireplace, Caroline admitted something she hadn't said to another soul, that she'd been afraid the divorce meant she was unlovable, broken, permanently alone. Marcus, without planning to, admitted the thing he'd buried since Rachel's funeral, that he was terrified moving forward meant betraying her memory, that healing felt like a kind of forgetting. Neither of them fixed the other that weekend, but something shifted. By Sunday morning, when the storm had cleared and the lake sat still and silver under new sunlight, Marcus and Caroline stood on the dock together, not as strangers who'd stumbled into each other's plans, but as 2 people who had, without either intending it, given each other permission to grieve out loud and to hope quietly. They exchanged phone numbers before they left, not with any grand promise, just an honest agreement to check in, to keep talking, to see where an unlikely friendship might lead. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a second to like this video and share it with someone who might need a reminder that healing sometimes arrives in the most unexpected form. Before you go, I'd love for you to leave a comment below. Tell me what you would have done if you'd opened that door and found a stranger unpacking her bags inside. Marcus and Caroline never expected that weekend to change anything, but sometimes the plans we didn't make turn out to be exactly the ones we needed, and sometimes a locked door, open at just the right moment, lets in far more than we ever bargained for.